I guess the headline from your KTAR interview was that you'd be willing to stand up with ICE if they do anything unlawful. Talk me through that, please.
Sure. You know, ICE is a law enforcement agency, federal law enforcement agency, and they're held to standards just like every other law enforcement agency in this state is, whether you're local or federal, and you have to do things lawfully, okay? And there's a lot of rules and regulations, use of force, and everybody is held to that standard. And I don't have a problem saying that I would hold ICE to that standard. But I also would like to say that the people that are protesting, they're also held to a standard. They have a constitutional right to peaceably assemble and to protest, but the key word is peaceable. So I want them to realize, too, that if they violate the law, and whatever that means, whether they become violent or interfere with judicial proceedings, they will also be held accountable.
Fair enough. You also mentioned that you have taken action maybe somewhat similar to holding other law enforcement people accountable. Can you talk me through that?
Yeah, sure. You know, I'm not proud of this, but I had a nephew years ago as a detective here, and he put in for overtime that he didn't work, and so I made sure he was fired, and I also forwarded those charges to the county attorney's office. And there, over the years, again, I've been in this business for 41 years, so I've seen a lot of different things. And there has been a couple of times where deputy sheriffs have committed a crime, and we have put handcuffs on them and arrested them and cooperated with prosecution. So if I do it with my own family, if I do it with my own deputies, I certainly would do it with another law enforcement agency. And I think that's my role as your elected sheriff, is to always do the right thing.
Can you talk me through how it would work just from a legal aspect, a county sheriff trying to hold accountable federal agents who may misstep? Is there, I mean, you have the authority to do that since they're in your county?
Absolutely. You know, the sheriff, being an elected official, is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. And so I have that ability and that authority to do it.
One other thing is that she wanted me to ask you, but it makes sense to me, is that it seems like in Minneapolis and all the craziness that's going on there, the feds don't want local people being part of the investigation. If something were to go awry here, would you want to be part of the investigation? Could you demand that you're part of the investigation legally?
I guess I could legally demand that I become part of that investigation. But again, you know, I have to trust my federal partners that they're going to do the right thing, that they are out there and holding themselves to that standard. And, you know, the problem is we see videos. We see videos on the news. We see videos on social media. And especially now with AI out there, we don't really know what we're looking at. And so I haven't gotten too excited about the incident in Minneapolis because I don't know the facts of the case. I have no insider information on it. And so until otherwise, that is a lawful shoot as far as I'm concerned.
Back to the demonstrators you mentioned here about just how things get so emotional. I mean, is there a little warning in there that there's a right way to do their part too?
Right. Well, I would say to the protesters, you're really protesting the wrong organization. It's not ICE. ICE is enforcing the law, just like any other law enforcement agency. You want the law changed, you need to go to your senators and your House representatives and talk to them and convince them that it's time to change the core of this whole issue, and that is our immigration laws, and fix those so people can come here when they want to legally and work here legally instead of them having to cross the border illegally.
Two more and I think I'm good. Do you mind commenting at all on what you're seeing in Minneapolis based on what you can tell is real? Or is that seems to be disturbing to a lot of Americans, what's going on there, the clash from both sides. Is that disturbing to you, and is there a worry that kind of scene might play out here?
I'm not worried about it playing out here in Arizona, especially in Maricopa County, because ICE is here. They have been working here, and we haven't seen any of these issues. So I would say that the thing that disturbs me the most is what's going on in Minneapolis, is the emotion, the violence against our federal law enforcement partners. that should be stopped. That should be stopped by local law enforcement. They should be there helping to keep ICE safe. Just like everything, and I've said this for years, my job as your sheriff is to keep everyone in this county safe, all 4.6 million people. And they should be enforcing the law and keeping the peace. And that's what we will do here.
I'm imagining protesters here, ICE trying to do their thing here, and deputies would be maybe in the middle.
Again, you know, people have a constitutional right to peaceably assemble, okay? I'm not saying you can't do it. We will protect you as long as you do it peaceably. If you don't do it peaceably, we're going to be putting you on the bus and taking you to jail.
As would be the same for an ICE agent who steps out of line.
100%.
Did I miss anything? Joe?
I would just go further on that. How would you handle an ICE agent that steps out of line?
Handling an ICE agent that violates the law will be arrested just like one of our own people would be.
Handcuffs and detaining?
Handcuffs, take them to jail. You know, it's unfortunate, and I certainly hope and pray that will never happen, but that has happened in the past, and I'm sure law enforcement officers will step out of line in the future. And I think we do a very good job here in Arizona. I was on the post board for 12 years, and we oversaw all the issues when somebody violated policy or the law. And we do a very good job policing ourselves here in Arizona, and so I feel very confident that we could handle the situation, anyone that arises, because we have over the years.
And that's part of the public trust that you need to do your job well, right? I assume to show that you can police.
100%.
So, okay.
I don't think he actually covered this. He said go protest wherever.
Yeah.
But maybe a little bit more about, you know, how is the public handling it in the public, you know, out in view. I know Minneapolis, where we look at those protesters and they're all over the place. They also have a responsibility, just like the ICE agents.
Of course, of course. Are there, could I ask you just a couple more, Sheriff? I'm trying to figure out how to say this right. Are there certain things ICE agents cannot do in their particular job when they approach a U.S. citizen? I mean, do I have to comply with what they're telling me to do because they're law enforcement? But I'm here legally?
Well, there is something that the federal agents, the ICE agents, Border Patrol, have the ability to talk to people, search people within a certain distance from the border. But here in Maricopa County, we're beyond that scope. So they have the same duties and responsibilities that any other law enforcement officer does when they walk up to a person on the street.
Your suggestion would be to comply, and even under protest if you don't like what's going on.
Well, you know, I think if people were reasonable, if they weren't so emotional about things, and they approach things in that vein, that we wouldn't have these problems to begin with. You know, I don't know any law enforcement officer, and I've been around cops all my life. My dad and my uncles were cops, and I grew up in that environment, and of course I spent 41 years doing it. I don't know of any law enforcement officer that I've ever known that wants to get in a confrontation with somebody. You know, we just want to go do our job and get it done, and with at least amount of stress as possible.